So some people say that Jackie Brown is the most amazing, epic, great, fantastic, most underrated Tarantino film of all time. Other people are all like, fuck this movie, it's boring as hell, I hate this piece of shit movie, why did Tarantino make it? Don't worry, I'm here to tell you my opinion. Jackie Brown. Welcome back to my Tarantino marathon, and this is the third movie in this series. I already covered Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. If you haven't seen those reviews, well, check them out. Jackie Brown was again directed by Quentin Tarantino. However, this movie is actually based on a novel called Rum Punch. The film stars Pam Grier, Samuel L. Jackson, Robert Forster, Michael Keaton, Bridget Fonda, and Robert De Niro. Now, Jackie Brown tells the story of a 44-year-old stewardess named Jackie Brown, who also happens to smuggle cash for an arms dealer played by Samuel L. Jackson. After the ATF is onto her and Samuel L. Jackson tries to kill her, she comes up with a plan to screw everyone over and escape with the money. Now, is this movie good? Absolutely, but it does have some give and take. But let's talk about the positives first. The casting in this movie, once again, brilliant. First up, we got Pam Grier as Jackie Brown. She is a blaxploitation icon. And this movie being sort of an homage to the blaxploitation films of the 70s, perfect. She's cool, she's smart, she's a little older, and you see a lot of pain in her eyes, which makes her character emotional and gives her more depth. But there's so much more to her than meets the eye. Michael Keaton is in the film. He plays an ATF agent. He's one of those guys that thinks he's smarter than he actually is, but he is great in the film. I love him. And funny enough, he actually reprises the role in Out of Sight. Robert Forster is in the movie, and I love him. He plays Max Cherry, Jackie Brown's bail bondsman, confidant, and possible love interest. He is probably the most sympathetic guy ever put in any Tarantino movie ever. And it's sad we don't see this guy anymore. Why is that? He's a great guy. Yeah, they used him for Heroes' shitty third season and he should have never been part of this mess. But he's a great actor. Robert De Niro is also in the movie as Louis. He's a crook, but he's stupid as hell, slow as hell. It's just the funniest shit ever, seeing Robert De Niro playing such a dumbass. And Bridget Fonda is in the movie. And actually, she is the weak link, sort of. She's the most useless character. She's annoying, but she's supposed to be annoying. But her character doesn't stand out at all. I have the feeling that her character could have been played by pretty much any young hot girl. And yeah, again, standout performance, Samuel L. Jackson as Ordell. Holy shit. Sam Jackson and Tarantino, they just go hand in hand. He has exceptionally great delivery of his lines. He plays this ruthless arms dealer. He is willing to execute everyone that causes him trouble. But he's also charming in a very, very dark way. Now, this movie harkens back, as I said before, to 70s blaxploitation films. And it totally shows. The soundtrack is epic. It's one of those soundtracks, it's actually funky. Yeah, apparently I'm from the 50s because I use the word funky. But it is what it is. Great soundtrack. A lot of soul, a lot of funk. It just mishes and matches with the tone perfectly. But despite the terrific cast and the sort of cool plot, which is a combination between a blaxploitation movie and a heist movie, which is funny because everyone calls Reservoir Dogs a heist movie, this time around we actually get to see the heist, which makes this movie more of a heist movie than Reservoir Dogs. Just pointing that out. No, but the biggest problem of this film is the fact that it is actually based on someone else's work. Tarantino, in my opinion, is always at his absolute best when he takes a blank piece of paper and starts to create his own story and his own characters. Which is a bummer because his trademark dialogue really doesn't come through this time around. Don't get me wrong, the dialogue is fine. I actually love the dialogue. But if I had to compare this dialogue to, let's say, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, all these other movies, we have a clear loser. But Tarantino does the best possible with the material at hand. And again, he manages to reference other movies, as he always does. This time around, not through quotes or dialogue, but through single shots. The very intro to this movie shows Jackie Brown on like one of them escalators at the airport. And it totally mirrors Dustin Hoffman from The Graduate. This movie has a bunch of those tiny little tidbits that as a cinephile, I of course enjoy. But the problem is that this movie drags on a little bit. Normally I don't mind long movies, especially not long Tarantino movies, because they keep me entertained throughout the entire runtime. This time around, especially in the second act, the movie drags. And I definitely have to take points off. So is this movie the greatest, most underrated Tarantino film of all time? No, I actually don't think so. It's a good movie, but in no way do I believe it's underrated. Is it a piece of shit, horrible shitfest of fucking annoyance? No. It's not that either. Because of its cast, characters, use of music and great editing, it's a slightly above average heist movie that harkens back to blaxploitation films of the 70s. And in referencing those movies, it does a pretty good job. But when I compare it to Tarantino's other flicks, it's just not as original. And that's the biggest bummer. Tarantino is like an indie king. And he is so unapologetic, so unorthodox with his characters, with his plots, that this movie sort of feels too average to be a Tarantino film. Which is why all in all I gotta say that Jackie Brown gets a bronze medal. It's a really entertaining flick. I do have fun with it. I watch it now and then. It does drag on a little bit. It has this annoying Bridget Fonda character. And it just lacks all the stuff we've come to know and love about Tarantino when it comes to character and dialogue. But in general, I really suggest you check it out. And if you're a fan of the 70s blaxploitation movie, like a hardcore fan, this is like your holy grail. So Jackie Brown, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below. Next up are Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. And if you like what you see here and you want to see more, then just subscribe.